Bless the innocent souls who think news was more real historically. The only thing about hashtag fake news is that it's even news. If you've been paying attention to just general society over the last 4 years, you've likely heard the term fake news. Now, it covers many different things, but some of the things I think it mainly talks about is news sources or reporters or locations claiming they're giving you news, reporting certain information. In some cases, this is information that they have intentionally made up. It is fake. In some other cases, this is something that is not newsworthy, yet they're trying to say this is worth your attention. This should actually be something you pay attention to when it has really no effect to really doesn't speak to the actual situation that's going on. Now, in addition, this has been used in a sense where these people are also intentionally trying to deceive you and cover for some other information. Now, it's a very prevalent thing in almost the daily. I think President Trump, I don't think he gives any actual discussion or conversation with anyone that's over 10 minutes where he doesn't call out someone or some institution for being fake news. Like recently, he was going through some actual presser with somebody from CNN, and the person was trying to ask him a question. He's like, okay, I'm not going to answer the question. He puts his finger up and he's like, look, I told you, CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. And then they keep trying to ask the question. He just turns his head to the side. I'm laughing because I think it's ridiculous and hilarious in many different ways. I realize it triggers a lot of people. I realize that for some people, they say this is serious times. You can't be talking like this. This is unpresidential. What is presidential? I don't know. Is Hillary Clinton presidential? Because this recent popularization of the term actually began, I think, with Hillary Clinton, because there were some actual fake news sites that were seemingly just created to actually just put out propaganda out there. I'm not talking about the sites that are satire, that some actual news channels have reported that, oh, this satire site I mean, this whole thing has just gotten out of control. There's actual fact-checking sites going on to satire sites and saying this didn't really happen. It's like, yeah, we know we're a satire site. This has happened with like Babylon Bee and I think Snopes. It's a funny situation. But anyway, in my memory, the thing that actually led to this current popularization of it, and this is globally, I see here in Kenya where I'm recording this from, there's actually fake news being talked about in different places, in different locations by politicians, individuals. It's just a term that's now used in popular lexicon. And even though some people might tell you today that, hey, stop using this fake news term, it's something that Donald Trump made up in order to harm the media and have himself under some shade. But no. This is more of a kind of political judo thing. Donald Trump used a weapon that was being used against him, because I'll quote this from a BBC article. On December 8th, 2016, Hillary Clinton made a speech in which she mentioned that, quote, the epidemic of malicious fake news and false propaganda that's flooded social media over the past year, unquote, quote, it's now clear that so-called fake news can have real-world consequences, unquote. So, this was supposedly in reference, or some people were saying it's in reference to the whole Pizzagate situation, because they were saying that due to this Pizzagate, which was a sort of conspiracy theory done by certain people on the interwebs and other locations, talking about how there was this cabal about abusing children and human trafficking that was ran out of this pizza company in like DC, and then somebody ran into that store and did something like, okay, look, spreading this fake information can actually lead to harming these people. Then, of course, there were additions that, oh, these fake sites, these fake accounts actually led to Donald Trump winning the election. Like, yes, these people spending maybe a couple of tens of thousands of dollars in a few hours online trolling people and creating these sites somehow trumped the tens of billions of dollars in expertise that you had in your actual campaign, and that's what swayed people to. So there's all these things. But I'm not laughing because I don't think fake news actually has an effect. Fake news does have an effect. Governments know fake news has an effect. Governments are not beyond having actual false flag events where they know this information isn't real and they put out certain information in order to do certain things that they want to actually accomplish on the other end. This is a regular thing that people do. When it comes to the actual news itself, why do people think that historically the news has been realer, telling you more accurate information? I think an argument can be made that the sort of news that did have a wide reach in the past was more just direct reporting, or they would make more of a distinction between editorializing and opinion parts, op ed parts, than just completely saying, this is the information and this is the information we give you. But at the same point, some of those sources in the past were not that accurate, to say the least. Some of them were very selective in the information they shared with you. The government themselves had a lot more control on what stories actually were released to the public. So it's not necessarily fake information, but it's not just the news. They were still just as selective as they are today in what sort of information to let the general public know. I think the difference now is the veil has been raised, where more people in the public realize that different media sources are very selective in what they say about other things. Do you think the media in the past was more understanding and more correct and more accurate about the situation of minorities? Do you think your knowledge and information about places outside of where you live was somehow more accurate? Do you think they had a better idea of what was going on in other countries, and somehow in that past the information wasn't put through a more intense lens that warped and changed and biased the actual information that you were actually told? Now, unfortunately, I think part of this might be due to a lot of people having a certain respect or reverence for dogmatic material, for things in, for example, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. They look back at that time and say, these people couldn't have lied. There's this general idea that we're raised to think that information from back there is somehow truer than anything we can possibly see and witness in the world today. And if you can have things 2,000, thousands of years old to be that accurate, then of course in the past we have this bias towards thinking things in the past were truer, more real. And now we're into more fakery, artificiality. But no, I think today we have a better understanding, better grasp on actual reality and information. We have the ability to actually tell real history. We have the ability to tell each other our own histories. Instead of just hearing somebody else's reporting in third, fourth, fifth, nth hand, you can go directly to as close to the source as possible. You can just go and live stream the actual situation that's actually occurring. You can talk directly to the people that were actually involved in those actual situations that are being reported on. And this will only increase as time comes. So this whole idea that fake news is a new thing might have been popularized and made a part of the general lexicon, but this is a creature that has been with us since news has been news. So that's it for now. This is part of my Shorties series where I take these short thoughts and I expand on them. I've got a bunch of these up. Got already above 30 of them where I try to just focus on one topic and keep them somewhat short. I have some long videos on this channel wherever you're watching it, but some of these are around like 5 to 10 to, there's a few that are over that. But anyway, like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked what I was saying. Let me know what you think in the comment section. There's also links below to a merchandise store. There's also links for PayPal if you feel that you want to do some extra and help support me make this content. I really appreciate you taking your time to actually come and listen to this. When was the first time you actually realized something was just really fake news in a really bad way and you realized, hey, I might have actually been listening to stuff that was just entirely fake? And I have this proposition or idea or thought that there actually is something worse than fake news, and that is faux news. I have an entire video about that concept. And just to condense that thought, if somebody tells you something that is demonstrably fake, for example, you could turn on the TV channel and then they say, look outside, there's all these shadows of these winged creatures. The griffin attack is here. Those are creatures with the head and wings of an eagle and then the back and hind legs of a lion, and they're going to be out there, and the second you step outside, they'll swoop down and just eat you, so you have to stay in your home. People can just open the door, look outside, and be like, look, that's just an eagle. That's just a bird. That's not an actual griffin. And then you go outside, because that is demonstrably false. It's easy to kind of think this is the thing. Yet, as I was talking about, for a long time, people did believe in griffins. Now, with faux news, someone can tell you something like this. Remember that family from down the street? They used to have this one son that was about 15. You remember him? You used to play with him when you were a kid. Okay, yeah, you see that? Now, you haven't seen this kid for about a couple of months now, right? Well, what I heard was this kid was walking around the woods, just those woods just across the way. You know those woods across the way? Yeah. And he heard some rustling in those woods. And it turns out that some lion had actually escaped from this zoo. And they don't want to report it because if the zoo came out and let you know about this thing, it would reduce the people actually going to the zoo. They would be responsible for it. But anyway, this kid was walking in those woods. And this lion came out, and he heard this rustling, and it came out and just ate him. It just took him away. And the family they just haven't told anyone. They're still looking for him, but I'm pretty sure that happened. And so avoid going to those woods. Don't go to those woods. Now then you ask this person, how do you know this information? Oh, it was this anonymous source that actually found a body there, and yeah, that's what they told me. Now, this isn't necessarily them lying to you. This is something they heard from a source. It could just be made up. They actually could be a body. This kid actually could be despairing. This kid could also have gone off to college and you don't know. Maybe this other body was something else. But those things in that story, all of them by themselves are not entirely false. They're not entirely things that you can just clearly disprove. Now, when you have that kind of fawn news, it's a lot easier for you to actually fall for some of those things. So I was kind of thinking fawn news is something that's more dangerous than actual outright fake news. And now with both of these things, none of these things are entirely anything new. So that's it. Till next time, go find the actual sources of the things that I actually said if they're available to you. Goodbye.